Hey guys, Marsengan here, bringing you another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video, and so today I have a very special run for you guys on the Cell Max event. I did tweet yesterday saying I had a good Cell Max video coming out today, and this is it. So as you can obviously tell by the title and the thumbnail, this is going to be a no item run against Cell Max using double LR cooler leads and using no units that are not on Cooler's leader skill. So this team does not have HERCULE, does not have PAIKUHAN, doesn't have the tech androids, you know, for the Ghost Usher, those two units. HERCULE obviously for the great dodging and the tanking. I don't know if his bug has been fixed. I think they mentioned they were going to address it, but I don't know if that is the case yet. So, first of all, I want to give a shout out to Enerjack over on Twitter, because he actually kind of inspired me to try doing this run, because he tweeted out a screenshot of doing a no item run with Cell's team, but he did use HERCULE on the team. Now, from my experiences doing this, it was probably still very difficult. I don't want to take anything away from his run, but I actually commented on his tweet saying, you know, I've had a few attempts at this. I really want to do it with only units that are on Cooler's team. Because you guys probably know, right, we've all been doing a lot of Cell Max videos recently. And regardless of the team that you bring, like, everyone's bringing HERCULE, PAIKUHAN. Like, I really wanted to see if we could actually do it with Cooler's team. And now remember, Cooler's team is actually worse on Global as well, because we're missing a key unit that could be very good for this stage, which is of course the LR Golden Freezer. So the key for this run, and again I put out a couple of tweets yesterday that were pretty much all in regards to my attempts at doing this run, but the key to this run is stalling as much as you can at the beginning, because first of all, not only does Cooler build up, so Cooler of course builds up defense for the turn with each of his 12 key supers, but he also builds up attack and defense from his passive by getting a certain number of attacks. I believe it's 10 maximum, right, to max him out. And then he also needs to have done 8 attacks for you to be able to use his active skill. So ideally, we want to get to Tech Cell Max with both the Coolers pretty much having their active skill ready to go, as well as their passives being as close to full as possible. Now, the funny thing is, you can see from this turn, we started this turn here with both the Coolers on the same rotation. So honestly, like, not long into this run, I already thought that maybe this was going to be, you know, like an auto fail attempt, because that means we now have to float off one of the Coolers, which means by the time he comes back, he's obviously not going to have gotten anywhere near as many stacks. But we basically just have to see how it plays out. Now, Cooler is a very powerful unit, as we all know at this point, but we are, in this run, deliberately trying, like, wanting him to be as weak as possible in these early runs. So all these instances like this, where he's only getting additional normal attacks, this is exactly what I want. I don't want him doing loads of additional super attacks in the first 2 phases and killing the first 2 phases of Cell Max too quickly. The problem, of course, then comes when we get to the final phase, which is where we then absolutely need him to actually be getting the additional 12 key super attacks. So what I try and do here throughout the run, and unfortunately the orbs did not really allow it for this turn, is I've been trying to get no super attacks with any units that don't stack, because they don't need it, basically, right? We need to build up our stacking units, which are on this team, obviously both the Coolers, and then the Int Broly, I think, is the only other stacker. I was using Cooliza on the team as well, but because Broly does at least have a chance to live a Tech Cell Max super attack if he's supered enough times, whereas Cooliza, I had some good experiences with him, but by the time we got to the final stage, if I'd gotten a bad set of starting rotations or some bad RNG with his additionals, his defense wasn't really good enough to cut it. Now, I did have an attempt, or at least a couple of attempts, where he did get off quite a few stacks early on. And I can tell you that, like, you know, next to Cooler, if you've super attacked enough times with that STR Cooliza, he was taking double-digit damage from Tech Cell Max's normal attacks. Now, unfortunately, he would get rinsed by a super, so that's why I decided to take him off, because he was another stacking unit, because I like using Broly in this event. I think this event has given him a new bit of shine, so I decided to replace him with Jace and Berta, because what I imagine, I didn't actually ask him about his rotations, but what I imagine that Enerjack was doing was obviously having Golden Frieza as the slot 1 tank on one turn, and then Hercule as the slot 1 tank on the other turn. Because that's the problem. Cooler is, of course, a slot 2 unit, so you need to have a slot 1 unit on rotation with him. And his team doesn't really have a lot of really, really solid options. The Tech Golden Frieza, his damage reduction isn't as much, and so he will take considerable damage from the normal attacks from Tech Cell Max. And a Super, he might not even survive, to be honest. And of course, that's yet another unit that has a HP restriction, because that is another bit of RNG that, of course, plays into this, is if the wrong unit takes a Super against Tech Cell Max, you might still survive, but then if the next turn is the one where you have Golden Frieza, then he doesn't have his passive active, and he will get absolutely destroyed. Like, normal attacks, I think, do like 300k to AGL Golden Frieza if he doesn't have his passive active, so quite a lot. And then, of course, Cooler over here, not only does he build up that extra attack and defense from his passive with all of his attacks, but he also builds up his ki. So once you get past, like, the first turn with him, pretty much, it becomes almost impossible to not 18 ki super with him. So, obviously, we're just hoping that... It's funny, because to do this no items run, it's weird to think about it like that, but Cooler is, like, too powerful. In the early stages, we need him to actually be bad. Like, mine has 25 crit in the hidden potential system, because mine is Rainbow. The friend is Rainbow. I made a joke about it on Twitter. The friend is Rainbow and full level 1 links. So I apologise to whoever that person is, because it was your Cooler that I managed to use to actually win the run, even though he's full level 1 links. I think in the final turn where it counted, I was on low HP anyway, so obviously Big Bad Bosses was active, so... that's very convenient. I think at the time of doing this run, well, I think it still is right now, my Cooler was at level 9 Big Bad Bosses, which I think is only like 98% or less HP. So as soon as you take like a tiny bit of damage, then he has Big Bad Bosses active, which is obviously very good. And you guys are going to see a turn, trust me, when we get to Tech Cell Max, you guys are going to see a turn from my Cooler, who really shows off like how powerful he can be. I'm pretty sure his 18 ki super on that turn, he gets like a 13 million attack stat, and then his additional 12 keys are like 8.5 or something. So, but yeah, Jason Berta became the replacement for Hercule in slot 1. Now, against Tech Cell Max, I think you probably will see it in this run at least once. Because you have to remember, I did so many runs of this yesterday that some of them have all like melded together. But if they don't dodge in slot 1, because remember they do raise defense on super attack. If they don't dodge in slot 1 against Tech Cell Max before they get their super off, they still take like 100k. Even though mine have 2 dupes, they're full level 10 links, and they're obviously type advantage. Now on this team, they don't really share a lot of links with people outside of, like, you know, fierce battle, and that's pretty much it. But that's why we have, for our floating units, we have units like Garlic Jr., who has type advantage when it comes to Cell Max, and obviously gives support, has Big Bad Bosses for Cooler. We have Tech Janemba, who as long as we pick up his 2 Rainbow Orbs has damage reduction. He has Big Bad Bosses that he gives to Cooler as well. So... but yeah, in this final turn of the physical phase, couldn't get it so that we could get some more stacks with Broly, because obviously I didn't want to float off AGL Golden Frieza, and then Cooler at least gets to get 1 more attack to build up towards his passive maxing out. But here we go, I'm taking a brief moment of hesitation, because this run is actually going very well. I had a couple of runs that just straight up failed because the starting rotations were so bad. Like, and then the RNG, like, Cooler did too much damage. I had a turn where, like, for example, I had a run where Golden Frieza and Jason Berta were on the same rotation on turn 2. By the time I got them floated around to being on opposite rotations, I was already at Cell Max. And so I think Jason Berta was still off rotation. So I got to Cell Max without any, like, slot 1 units on the rotation. I had to put Broly in slot 1, but because Cooler had been popping off, he hadn't stacked enough, and I think he still took like 80k from normal attacks, and then I'm pretty sure he got supered as well, and then he just died, because Broly, even with some stacks, will still get killed by a super attack. So I used Cooler's active skill. I forgot that the animation skipping was turned on, but don't worry, I do turn it off for the second one. And then I was just trying to work out the orbs here so I could make sure I get the orbs for Janemba. It's not super important to get his support, even though obviously it is very helpful. But you do want to be getting his 2 rainbow orbs so that he gets damage reduction. And then he raises defense on super. So in slot 3, after supering, his defense is reasonable. He probably still dies to a super. I don't think we take a super with him during this run. And obviously, if you can get the 4 type orbs as well, not only is it giving the support to everybody else, but it also gives the support to himself. And there you go. We get the dodge. I mean, you could see we took, what, 80k from the normal? So the super, we probably was straight up dead if they hadn't dodged that. So that's the reason why they're on the team. Basically just to dodge in slot 1. Because like I said, they don't link super well with everybody. Now, unfortunately, the friend being at level 1 big bad bosses, this is where it does come in to hurt you. Because we're at, what, 80-something% HP? So if big bad bosses was even like level 5, oh no, we're about 90-ish, or just below 90. So if big bad bosses was at level like 5, 6, 7 maybe, it would have activated before Cooler attacked. Then obviously we would do a ton of damage. So units that have big bad bosses, it's so important to get that link to level 10, because it's just free extra damage and defense. And then of course we did get quite lucky here. We started the turn pretty much just above 40% HP, so that Frieza has his damage reduction. Because as I said earlier, if Frieza doesn't have his damage reduction, it's GG. Unless there's a slot you can put in where there's no attacks. So as you can see from the ways the attacks are laid out on this turn, if Frieza did not have his damage reduction active, we absolutely would be dead on this turn. So active skill from Cooler, no crit sadly, but 6 million damage. That's going to remove that action in slot 1, as long as it's not the do no action thing, which is that hilarious weird glitch that's going on at the moment, which they have addressed in the news. I was going to make a video about it, but because they said they're going to fix it, I haven't bothered. And here we go. We are primed and ready for Cooler to get the Dokkan attack on the next turn, because Jace and Berta, because they don't share any key links with Cooler, we already know from the previous rotations that they need, I think, is it 3 key to super in slot 1? They need more than 1, let's just say. So that means we have the ability, look at that, there you go. There's that Cooler turn, 13.6 million attack stat from Final Form Cooler, 7.7 million crit, and then here comes the first additional, 8.58. So basically 8.6 million attack. And then if the next one doesn't go up at all, that means he is fully maxed out on his passive. So there's a normal. There's another super. Yeah, 8.58. So he's fully maxed out now. So that's what? 17 million just from those two. 13 from his original super. So he just put out 30 million attack stat worth of supers. And he did an additional normal as well. So that is a turn where Cooler really showing his power. We obviously have the support buff from Garlic Jr. And because my Big Bad Boss is at level 9, Big Bad Bosses was obviously active. But he tanked Cell Max's normal attacks for double-digit damage. And then here, we actually get very lucky because Jace and Berta are locked in slot 2. So this actually could have been GG. But there are no attacks in slot 1. So we managed to get a combination of terrible RNG and good RNG all at the same time. Because he locked our slot 1 unit in slot 2. But then he isn't attacking in slot 1. So the friend Cooler doesn't even have Big Bad Boss. I think he literally only has Fierce Battle active here. But we're getting the Dokkan attack. We're hitting all the nodes. So he's at like 8 million. It really shows you how links come into play. Because this is a Rainbow friend Cooler. So he's Rainbow as well. But he's all level 1 links. And he only has Fierce Battle active. His attack stat is 5 million lower than my one with Big Bad Bosses active. So that really shows you like how powerful links are. 5 million attack stat worth of power. So there's the additional super. It didn't crit. I was starting to get a little bit worried here, but then the extra additional comes in clutch. So Cooler, when he gets that RNG and he gets all them super attacks, this man just puts out an absolute insane amount of damage in one turn. And there you go. I haven't actually done a video doing a Cell Max no item run yet. I've seen a bunch of people did it on day 1, especially on JP with like the Vegeta and Trunks. So I've just been focusing more on trying out fun teams in this event, rather than specifically trying to do a no items run video. But I feel like if I was going to do a no item run video, like this is the one to do. Like this run was very, very difficult. I feel like this no items run especially for Cell Max is definitely very impressive. So shout out to Enerjack. Like I said at the beginning, anyone that can do it with Cooler's team, even if you are using like HERCULE, PAIKUHAN, whatever, you definitely need that RNG to be on your side. But you guys really got to see here the full power of Cooler. And yeah, this is his team. No units not under his leader skill. And we have done Cell Max with no items. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Masked Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below for the Discord and the merch store. And I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.